Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep-end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer ahead to learn more. See you this summer.
Metalheads, sharpen your horns. Every Monday, Metal Mondays from Metal Blade Records storms onto bravewords.com with a brand new interactive audio trivia battle. Test your metal knowledge, crush the questions, climb the leaderboard, win prizes, earn bragging rights loud enough to rattle the crypt. Think you know Slayer, Cannibal Corpse, Gore, Merciful Fate, and the deep cuts hiding in the Metal Blade vault? Then prove it. Head to bravewords.com every Monday and play Metal Mondays. Say it loud, score it high, rule the leaderboard. Metal Mondays, now on bravewords.com.
This is John from Into the Void, a Black Sabbath podcast. You're listening to Jay Scott and The Hook Rocks.
It's okay now, a little longer if you just hang on. It's okay how you give it all, but you just can't hold your own. So take my words like they're set in stone. Dig it down deeper to the mother love. Tasting of the willow with the fresh air blown. Saving for a woman who can set me strong. But you're gone. You're gone. Baby, I can get along. But you're gone. You're gone. Baby, I can get along. Sometimes you learn it all along the way. Maybe you fly off a bucking horse, and maybe you're the one to tame. I know a little.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Hook Rocks. I'm your host, Jay Scott. Thanks for tuning in once again. We are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, a great network of music-related podcasts such as myself, The Hook Rocks, as well as Vinny Appice, Carmen Apice on the Hangin' and Bangin' podcast, Mistress Carrie out in Boston, as well as many others. Look them up on pantheonpodcast.com and follow them on Twitter at Pantheon Pods. And also follow The Hook Rocks on Twitter at The Hook Rocks. And also follow us wherever you podcast on every platform. And please set your app to automatic download so you get all the latest and greatest Hook Rocks episodes. We've got a great episode for you today. One of my favorite bands, for many years. The year was 1988. I had a paper out, and the station in Chicago, WVVX, played this band nonstop. Fell in love with the song Electric Gypsy, took my money from my paper route, rode my bike up to Big Apple Records, and I've been a fan ever since their debut album came out. A lot of bands from that era like to talk about a resurgence. A lot of bands from that era like to talk about the quality of music that they put out current day, but few bands deliver. And my guest is part of a band that continues to deliver with the last albums, The Missing Piece, The Devil You Know, and now the new album that's coming out November 12th. I'd like to welcome in Phil Lewis from LA Guns. What's going on, Phil? How are you?
I'm all right, Jay. Thank you very much. That was quite a heroic intro you just gave me there. I appreciate that.
Well, it's all true.
You did your paper round and you got, it's a lot like me when I was like growing up in London, listening to Hendrix and Humble Pie. And I had exactly the same addiction. It's great. Did kids have it nowadays? I don't know. But we'll get to that, I guess. But anyway, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yes, we do have a new record dropping in a few days. Very excited, happy to talk about it. And it's quite a network you've got going there. So hello, everyone.
Well, thanks for doing this. Like I said before, the new album is Checkered Past. It's out November 12th. I have to tell you, in listening to this, I felt Devil You Know was a great album. The Missing Piece was fantastic. This album, and I'm not just blowing smoke, this album absolutely blows those two away.
Yeah, well, we had an opportunity to listen to the prior before this one, The Missing Piece and The Devil You Know. And yeah, there were certain things about it that in hindsight we thought, well, yeah, maybe we could have done that better. Maybe this one, third time, absolutely a charm and very different from the previous two. And certainly for me anyway, my vocals were done remotely in my house in Vegas. And as opposed to the old days where I'd fly out to New York and I'd have about 2 or 3 days in the studio, to do an entire album's worth of vocals. No pressure. So yeah, this was a lot better, for me vocally. And I really, it was really great having the opportunity not to be rushed and not to be on the clock and not, to be under any pressure at all. And really get it right this time. And the songs are all there. And credit to Tracy, we needed to come up with an album's worth of songs and he came up with the music in about a month. And, the ball was in our court at that point. So yeah, it was an interesting project. It was good to have something to do during the pandemic. It would sitting around and with the lockdown and all the restrictions. That was no fun at all. So it was really good to have that record to immerse myself into and to take me away from all of that. And yeah, so yeah, I think it is a definite improvement on the last two.
What I like about this album is more so than any other LA Guns album that I've heard is it's so layered with a lot of stuff, a lot of different, texture, a lot of different tones, the way you guys approach the songs, the arrangements. I think of the song Let You Down, which was the first single you guys released. I believe it was late last year, I want to say.
Yeah.
Year.
But that was the first one off of this record. That was the first one we recorded under the circumstances I was just explaining. And we were so happy the way it turned out that we just couldn't get it out fast enough. But we didn't have anything else recorded at all at that point. But it didn't stop our boyish enthusiasm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that song, in hearing that, to me, it's the best, if not one of the best songs you guys have ever recorded.
Thank you. It's a challenge, isn't it? It's a challenge for the listener.
It is.
Music nowadays is you just bombard the listener. They don't have to do nothing. Everything's done for them. It's polished. It's glossy. It's in their face, on their lap, on their phone. This Let You Down was like, wait, no. You come to us, and that guitar intro, that extended guitar intro, that is, people in a hurry. That's not something you'll listen to on a crowded street in Manhattan. But maybe you would, because it absolutely slows time down, and it creates an environment, a zone, a twilight zone, if you will. I don't know. But yeah, it's ethereal. It's an out of body thing. You listen to the song, you're immersed in it. And yeah, we're really, really happy with the way that turned out.
Yeah. When I first heard it, it's such a tone for what's to come. And it was definitely in my opinion, out of your comfort zone, right? As a band. Because I've never heard anything like that from you guys before. And it was refreshing.
I mean, I think, to be fair, I mean, debatably, I think it's quite Bowie-ish. I think it's something that David Bowie might have done. Maybe he would have had a lot more synthesizer and not like he'd probably consider our drums to be corny, but, the actual vibe of it for me, is very Bowie-ish. And of course, that we've never done anything like that in LA Guns. So that's an interesting observation. I'll take that.
The album takes off with Cannonball, goes into Bad Luck Charm, and Living Right Now. 3 songs that really get you going in terms of being the listener and absorbing the music. And then you come out with another different style with Get Along, which really is Zeppelin-esque type of style with kind of like a physical graffiti, Led Zeppelin 3 type of style of a song.
Yeah, exactly, Jay. You nailed it. That was the first time I heard it too. It made me think of Led Zeppelin 3. It made me, it was it's a folk hybrid. You're just, wondering where Sandy Denny's going to come in and start singing the chorus, and, Battle of Evermore. It's just got that folky vibe. And, Tracy is the biggest, Jimmy Page fan in the world. He's the bigger than all the other fans combined. He just loves Jimmy Page, and it was an influence, obviously a Jimmy Page influence that he doesn't even think about. It just comes out, it flows out of him like that, and it's great because I'm always trying to get him to play more acoustic guitar because he's really good at it, but he's just the electric rocker dude till the day he dies, and acoustic guitars aren't his thing at all. But I think he really nailed it on that one, and it's a simple vibe, and it's a good song. And you're right about the opening sequence of the record, Cannonball, Bad Luck Charm, which is, I think, personally my favorite. It's just funny. It's just, I find myself singing it, while I'm riding my bike. I find myself singing that jaunty chorus. And then Living Right Now, for me, when I first heard that, it was like, it took me back to like 70s punk rock, like Generation X, like that early, like Pistols and stuff, the Clash. It was just so, it was just it just rocked. It just has this, it was just, like primitive and driving. And I was really inspired by that. So it's a great way to open a record. And then, going into Get Along, which is, it's like hitting the brakes, isn't it? It's just like after Living Right Now. It's so, you can, if you think of it as being an album, like an LP, and that would be like the first chapter. And then Get Along is kind of like going into the next phase.
We were all dealing with the same stuff over the last year and a half, 2 years. Creatively, it can be a challenge, when faced with all this stuff, or it can also be, tapping into a wave of emotion and inspiration to be creative. When you sat down and wrote the lyrics for these songs, the fact that you mentioned that you didn't have a lot of pressure and you were able to kind of work at a different pace, how did that affect you lyrically in creating lyrics for these songs?
I work very closely with Mitch Davis. I have since the reunion. He records my vocals when I go to New York, and he's superb songwriter, lyricist, producer. And sometimes, I just it's difficult to have ideas, because it's one thing to, if you're a young, aggressive, tearaway punk rocker, you've got tons to complain about and shout about. But I got my life's pretty good, man. It's just like I could write about going down to Trader Joe's and then maybe the DNV later. And so I need Mitch for his, when we write, it isn't about us. It's not about anyone we know. These are just like little stories, vignettes, like little twilight zones of music. And we'll try not to make it introspective or we don't put any personal messages in there at all. These are just good, fun rock songs.
Faced with the situation with, the former drummer that you guys had, while, recording this process, did that add any extra incentive to release something as great as this album?
No, it didn't make any difference at all. We were going to release this album and it was going to be exactly as it is without any of that. Mm-hmm. It's a nasty bit of business that we've taken care of. It was something that needed to be done. And just like everything else with this band, when it comes to music, we don't fuck around, we do this seriously. And it was an encroachment. And it was impossible to do anything amicably like gentlemen. So we had to go the legal route and drop lots of bombs from a great height. But we got it sorted out. So there's no more confusion. And that's about as much as I want to say about it.
Yeah, no, I'm just happy because as a fan of you guys, this album feels like a celebration of LA Guns. When you look back at your previous albums, the last two, which really kind of began this upswing, and you go back to where you guys were in the beginning, as we move along with this record to, Better Than You and Knock Me Down, which is another great tune. It just feels like, let's celebrate LA Guns. Let's be happy that, we're hearing this great new music.
I should hope so. Me and Tracy, we're, children of the 70s, and, bands that we grew up with would put out a record every 18 months, every couple of years. And it just, that's what bands did. And that's what we do. And of course we know we're not going to sell millions of copies, and it's not going to be anything like our cocked and loaded Hollywood Vampires days, but that's not really the point. It's because we enjoy the music, and it seems I've been doing interviews now. This is my third week. I've been doing 4 a day, and they're all good. Everyone's like absolutely raving and delighted about this record. So money can't buy that. No one's paying you to do this. This is something that you're genuinely interested in, and that's a good feeling.
You mentioned in the beginning of the conversation about, do young people listen and absorb music the same way we did when we were, growing up? Did they look forward to music like we did? And I live under the same roof as my 16-year-old son. And we're going out on New Year's Eve to see you guys perform at the Whiskey Go-Go.
Cool.
And we were both ecstatic. He's never been to the Whiskey. I was at the Whiskey years ago, but for him to experience that and to experience LA Guns is a big trip for me, and he's really excited about it.
Well, it's a traditional gig for us. I've done it like half a dozen times now. Obviously, couldn't do it last year because there was nothing happening. But yeah, it'll be really, really good to get back. And that we are just like a remnant of that scene, and still relevant. And you're not going up there to see some old boys mailing it in on nostalgia night. It's solid. It's every bit as potent as it was in '88. It is now. So good. He'll enjoy that. The thing you were saying about absorbing music. You see, when I was your son's age, and I spent the money that I raised or somehow finagled and bought an LP, I'd get it home and I'd put it on the turntable, and if it didn't have lyrics, I probably wouldn't buy the LP, because it was such an important thing for me to do, to sit down, read the lyrics while the track was playing, and follow the melody and figure out the words and the arrangement. And I love that. And it was more than the music. It was like just being immersed into your favorite band, being on the same frequency. And there isn't that now, I'm sure there are some people that'll do it. And, maybe your son, when he gets our record, when he gets our CD, and he might be drawn to something like that. But it was an addiction for me.
When he was 10 or 11 for Christmas, I got him a stereo and about a half dozen CDs because I wanted him to have a physical relationship with music, not just point, click, and download.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Because I think that changes the way you listen. It changes the way you absorb it. When you actually you can touch it with your hands and you can see it.
That's right.
It makes a huge difference.
Well, I love my vinyls. My vinyl collection. It's the pride of my house. I'm so proud of it. I love my turntable and my old Pioneer stereo, and there's just something very therapeutic. It's the ritual of deciding and pulling out an LP and pulling out the sleeve and putting it on the turntable. I love that, and it takes me back, but it just it sounds good too. So that's kind of my hobby, actually.
You mentioned in a previous interview that I saw that Scott Coogan, who performed with you guys on the last tour, didn't play on the album, is no longer with you guys. You guys got a replacement.
Right.
When you guys think of, that challenge of, replacing members as LA Guns has over the years, you guys, are in a much better place now with the material and what you guys are doing. Is it just the fact that, you guys move forward no matter what the challenges are, no matter what's happening to keep the train on the track and not, and play with people that want to play with you guys instead of worrying about pleasing others, if that's the case in this situation?
I describe it as being fluid. This is a band, LA Guns is a band that has been fluid. It has to be fluid. There are bands like Iron Maiden and Def Leppard. They can afford to pay people when they're not working. And that, then it does become like a family or a club or a team. We've never had that luxury. We've been around, we've had highs and lows, and we've had money, and then we haven't. And we've never been in a position, apart from when we were signed to Polygram, working on the first two records, where we didn't have to think about where money was coming in from. Everything's so hand to mouth with this band and this business. It's inconceivable and it's hard to explain that to people that aren't in the business, that have never done a gig in their life, that have never paid a bill, from the profits of music. And it's not an easy thing to do. And it's really unfortunate that, we lost Scott. It was because he didn't have access to a studio, to record drum parts, during the recording, during the remote recording. And Adam Hamilton does and did and has a great recording setup and great drum setup. And also happens to be a great drummer and has played bass for us, played rhythm guitar for us. And, we had no choice. It was, it was a decision that made itself. And Adam did a fantastic job. I've no doubt that Scott would have done a fantastic job too. And I'm hoping that down the line, things will be okay. And we will play with Scott Coogan again, because he's a great guy. He's a great drummer, but I don't blame him for not wanting to tour a record that he didn't play a note on. He's too good for that. He's got other stuff that he can do. And I completely respect his decision, and it's nothing personal. He's a good guy, and I really enjoyed working with him. But this situation, our reality is fluid, and we have to replace him quickly because we've got shows coming up, and we don't have time to dwell. So the good news is we've got Shane Fitzgibbon, who played on the first two records, on the first reunion records, Missing Piece and The Devil You Know. He's coming back and is going to do the shows that we've got lined up for in and around the album release. Just West Coast, local stuff, a couple of shows in Vegas, and then the show at the Whiskey. So Shane will be playing drums on New Year's Eve.
You mentioned something too about the business and about how things are fluid. And I know, there's been outlets over the years that have tried to make, people coming in and out of LA Guns and LA Guns issue, when it's a music business issue, the way things are structured now with streaming services not paying anything, the days of big advances for record labels not being there. Bands have to rely on touring. And, if someone, gets a better gig, quote unquote, or feels like they might get paid more or better, they're going to probably take that gig because they rely on that money.
As they should, absolutely. Our record's released on November 12th. I imagine by the November 13th, there'll be at least half a dozen places you can bootleg it. It's bleak, it's depressing. The substantial part of our income comes from live shows, it's a tough business, and it's not always pretty, and it's good. I mean, I'm glad things are great for us now, and with the new record and everything, but it hasn't always been that way, and you're sorry to see people go, but that's just the way it is, because that's where the money's at.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's that's, I always try to tell people, the reason why there's people coming in and out of different bands, and no matter who it is because they're chasing the dollar because they have to,
I mean, just to sum it up, it's that you cannot afford to pay people when you're not working. The Rolling Stones can, Billy Idol can, and Elton John can, and consequently they keep the same bands for decades. I'd love that. Actually, no. Come to think of it, I wouldn't. I'm glad. I enjoy the change. I enjoy working with new and fresh musicians. I think if we've been stuck with that same lineup, that cocked and loaded lineup, and didn't change at all, I think that might have got a bit dull, to be honest.
Well, the proof is with what you guys have been doing over the last several years. Like I said, the last. Well, yeah. Albums.
I mean, I think it's better. I mean, I think it's an improvement. It's different. It's a more mature record. We're not singing about Sex Gun Lover in the heat of the night, but it's still got the vibe. It's still punky. It's still got that living right now thing. It's just a bit more sensible.
Yeah, and of course the live show. I had the pleasure of seeing you guys back in, I think it was April of 2019, maybe it was 2018. It's so hard to stamp time these days because everybody's been. But it was such a phenomenal show, and the energy was just there. From when I saw you guys, God, I think you guys opened up for Def Leppard at the Rosemont Horizon back
right.
then.
Yeah, that was a great show too. I remember that. We got the energy, and it's still in our blood, It's still true to us. It's what we signed up for, what we dedicated our lives to decades ago now. That is that moment, when we are doing our thing, that makes up for all the bullshit, all the bad stuff, all the hard stuff, all the heartbreak, and all the disappointments and the frustration. That's all out the window. Those moments that you're doing your thing and you're shining and you're firing on all cylinders and everyone's on your frequency. There's no high like it. There really isn't. It's hard to describe, but it's just such a great feeling. And it has been hard to figure out time, being in lockdown for 2 years. You haven't done a show for 2 years, but I really missed it. I'm looking forward to getting right back to it.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Phil, I appreciate you doing this. This was great for me to sit down and chat with you and talk with you.
My pleasure, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your research and appreciate your support. And I'll see you on New Year's Eve.
Absolutely. Everybody, That's Phil Lewis from LA Guns. I'm Jay Scott. This is The Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of each other.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Jay. The Hook rocks. Cheers. Bye.
There's a part of me that you never know. Push it deep inside. Got nowhere to go. It's like a song that's too quiet. It's like a slow growing riot. And I'm never gonna change. So stop asking why I'm acting awful strange. Burn you like a lava flow. Pain ain't ever coming down. Maybe I'm a love strike kind of girl. Just might be confused about it. Love me tonight, hate me tomorrow. Never let you down. Love me tonight, hate me tomorrow. That's how it goes around. There's so many to see. He's like a demon now. That's my pathology that I can't control.
300 Favorite Albums with James Campion.
I don't think there's an album I know better front to back. I learned how to play guitar to a lot of these songs.
If I could pick one record to hand someone and say this is what it feels like to be a woman, it would be this record.
You know, the engineer that was recording the album for us was a novice engineer. He was really the janitor.
The first half of these sessions for the album were totally improvisatory in the sense that they went into the studio and just dealt with whatever happened.
There was space that was left for these listeners to kind of discover it for themselves. That they would say, yeah, my parents listened to it, but I had to build my own relationship to it.
Happiness, good living, peace, love, rock and roll. I just feel like this album is such a wonderful translation of that concept.
People understood they were in a world historical moment, and it felt like it was going to last forever. In fact, the infinite spaces that they explored in The Giant Now is part of what made that explosion so huge.